Today, I want to talk about something that I think all of us have questioned at some point, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that is, what is the truth, really? Is there one universal truth that exists for everyone, or is truth something that's different for each person? When you look around the world, you'll notice that everyone believes in something completely different, and yet somehow it all works out for them. Different religions, different experiences, different ways of seeing life, and it all feels extremely real to the person living them. So, in this video, I want to explore that idea whether truth is something objective that exists out there, or whether it's something we create, something that actually shapes the way we experience reality itself. And at the end, I'm also going to talk about how this is not just an abstract concept that we can discuss, but something that we can also apply to our own life, like how the way you actually see yourself, your insecurities, your beliefs, and all of that can change based on what you decide is true for you. Welcome to the video, guys. This is Deb, and today I present to you my idea or conception of what I think the truth is. Truth. I feel like at some point in life, as I said, we've all questioned what the truth is. The truth about life, the truth about the universe, the truth about mankind. What are we? What is our purpose? Is there even a purpose? And if you pause and look around, observe the world around you, you'll notice that every single human being seems to have their own version of the truth. Everyone is operating from something that they believe is absolutely real, and there is no question there. Something they believe is right, something they believe explains life. And that itself is confusing. How can there be so many truths at the same time and they're all working for everybody? Personally, I lean towards the idea that there is no objective truth. I don't think there is any objective morality. I don't think there is one fixed universal truth that exists independent of the human perception. Because think about it, the world we live in is largely theistic. Most people believe in some form of God, some sort of higher being that is watching over them, listening to them, guiding them. But as we analyze this, it all definitely starts falling apart, right? When we talk about Abrahamic religions, the Christian God is listening to Christians, the Muslim God is listening to Muslims, and both Muslims and Christians believe that their lives are being shaped by this divine presence, that their prayers are being heard, that their actions are being judged, that there is some heaven, some sort of afterlife that they're working toward. In most Abrahamic religions, the devotees have to follow rules, moral systems, laws that they believe are designed by this particular God, and all of that works for them. Now, I'm also going to mention a little bit about Hinduism because I'm Hindu, and what personally confuses me about Hinduism is that it's not even structured like Abrahamic religions are. It's not even a religion in the conventional sense, but most Hindus today live under this idea that the deities, the demigods that they worship, like Durga, Krishna, Shiva, exist in the same way that Allah or Jesus is believed to exist. Like, there's a being up there specifically listening to you because you're Hindu. And I think a lot of it obviously comes from a lack of deeper engagement with the actual texts and philosophy of Hinduism. Because if you actually read the scriptures, the Gita, the Upanishad, the Vedas, you will see that it's actually very different. We don't see God as something separate, something physical sitting somewhere outside of you, up there watching you. They talk about something much more abstract, much more difficult to grasp, which is why I feel like most people don't even try to understand it. And they just stick to demigods and worship them because it's easier to believe in something physical. But the truth is that in Hinduism, they believe that you're not separate from God, you are part of it. That you are, in some sense, God experiencing reality from a certain perspective. But yes, it's not easy to understand, it's not human-like, something that you can pray to, talk to, imagine is not viable through this option, so most people go with the physical option. Now, what I am pointing towards is that when people take these deeper non-material ideas and turn them into material forms of worship, and it becomes their truth, it seems to work for them, right? When you talk to people, when you talk to Christians, they have real experiences. They'll tell you stories about how they prayed and something magical happened in their life. Muslims will say that Allah helped them, guided them, and saved them in ways that you can never imagine. Hindus will say that the Devi, or my mom usually says that this God she believes in has saved her from all the misery and is making good things possible for us. And something about me is that I'm not somebody who dismisses somebody's experience that easily. So if a person tells me that they experienced something, best believe that I'm going to obviously take it with a grain of salt, but I'm going to believe it still. Because I understand that I don't know enough about reality to say what is possible and what isn't. So my conclusion from all of this that I have come to is that everyone has their own truth. And somehow the world shapes itself according to that truth. Not accidentally. It's not random. I feel like that's how the universe operates. The way you believe reality works becomes the way reality appears to you. A simple example that I would use to explain this better would be the belief in ghosts. If you're somebody that believes in ghosts, there's a much higher chance you'll experience something that feels paranormal. But if you're like me, I don't believe in ghosts, and I have never remotely once experienced anything paranormal. Because I feel like whatever you feel is what you experience. So if you don't believe in a ghost, you're never going to experience anything like that. I believe that whatever we experience as humans is what we are interpreting it as from something internal, something coming from our mind. And all of this ties perfectly into conditioning as well. Babies are not afraid of the dark. Did you know that? If you put a baby in a dark room, they're not going to cry because they don't know that they're supposed to be afraid of the darkness. But as they grow up, they are taught, directly or indirectly, that darkness is something to fear. You tell toddlers, hey, don't go there, it's dark, you'll be scared. And that's how that belief becomes their truth. Eventually, they become genuinely scared of the dark. Not because the darkness was inherently scary though, but because it has been defined that way for them. So all these religions, beliefs, systems, they function in a similar way. Whatever you believe to be true, reality organizes itself around that belief. So if you believe that prayer will work, it will seem like it works. But not necessarily because of the act itself, but because of your assumption behind it. Does that make sense? And this connects to a lot of ideas around the subconscious mind, non-duality, and consciousness that particularly makes sense to me. The idea that reality is not separate from you, but is being experienced through you. So reality is not something that's happening to you, it's happening through you. And you see this in the work of a lot of people like Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza, etc., etc. There's so many people and ideas and concepts like the law of assumption, attraction, law of belief, blah, 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 voodoo, this, that. They all seem to be approaching it differently, but the core idea is the same. Your inner assumptions shape your outer reality. So your truth becomes your lived experience. So for me, I don't believe in a physical God sitting somewhere outside of me, watching me. I believe in consciousness. I believe that I am part of something bigger, an expression of something bigger. And from that perspective, what I assume to be true starts showing up in my life. And I've had experiences, like very specific experiences, that feel too precise to be a coincidence, Things that make you stop and think that, okay, this is happening and this cannot be a coincidence. Like, nobody can deny what you're feeling because you know what you're feeling. And that brings me to something I want to explore more, which is coincidences, or what Carl Jung calls synchronicity. Why do certain things line up in such meaningful ways? Why do patterns appear? And maybe it's not all random. Maybe it's connected to what you believe, what you expect to see, what you focus on, and what you assume to be true. By the way, Carl Jung, one of my favorite writers, thinkers, psychologists, I love Jung, and I feel like he's one of the most influential figures in the past couple hundred centuries, I would say. He is my favorite, and I would love to talk so much more about Jung. But yeah, and I just don't believe all of this as a theory, which is why I don't want to leave this as a theory. Because this idea has actually changed the way I live my life and how life happens to me. And you can also actually change how you live with this simple idea. So think about it, take something simple like any insecurity you have. Let's say beauty. Because so many people in today's society are obsessed with being perceived as beautiful. Because someone's outer beauty seems to be the most significant thing about a person in today's world. A lot of people constantly question, am I pretty? Am I good enough? How do I know? You'll see a lot of young girls questioning and commenting on social media saying that, do you think I am pretty? How much would you rate me? And this, that. And my answer to that will always be that you decide. Because what you decide is the truth you're gonna die with. What I mean is that if you believe you're ugly, you could live your entire life that way regardless of what anyone else says. Even if people tell you otherwise, it won't matter. Because your truth will override everything. And you will die believing that truth. So the opposite is also true. If you decide that you're beautiful, if you decide that you're worthy, that you're enough, that is your truth, and you will live that truth and you will die with that truth. Because there is no objective truth. You decide your truth. And I feel like the best thing about life is that it will begin to reflect that back to you. So my point is, there may not be one universal truth that everyone shares, but there is your truth. And your life will unfold according to it. Everyone is living their own version of reality shaped by what they believe to be true. And somehow, despite all these differences, life keeps moving for everyone, and you cannot convince anybody otherwise. It's really hard to do so, which makes you wonder, maybe truth isn't something you find, it's something you create, you make yourself. And today, I want to leave you guys to decide what your truth is. Take it as a challenge. For a week, just a week, decide something that is true for you that wasn't true for you before today. Take something, change a belief, and you will notice that life will reflect that to you. Life will give you your truth back to you. And I think that's an amazing thing, to create your own life, to create your own truth, to live your life the way you want to. So yeah, that's all I want to talk about today. Let me know in the comments if you have changed something about yourself, a core belief about yourself, and that made a difference in the world and how it appears to you and how the world treats you. Because I know there are so many examples, and if you guys want, I will make a video of all the things that I have changed, all the beliefs I have changed about myself, and they've made a huge difference in my life. I'll leave you guys here for today. In the next video, I am going to talk about my ego death. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a good day.